Sit quietly for a moment, let the noise of the world settle like dust after a storm. Close your eyes and listen not just with your ears, but with the stillness inside you. There is a truth many people overlook. Wealth does not begin in the hands, it begins in the mind. And deeper than the mind, it begins in intention. You have been taught to chase money, to worry about it, to fear its absence. But what you chase runs away, and what you fear grows stronger. So today you will not chase, you will not fear. You will simply align. This prayer is not magic in the way people think. It is not a spell to control the world. It is a gentle returning, a quiet remembering of the flow that was always meant for you. Repeat within yourself slowly. I release the fear of not having enough. I release the belief that I am lacking. I open myself to receive with gratitude. What is meant for me flows to me with ease. I am at peace with what I have, and I welcome what is coming. Say it not with desperation, but with calm certainty, like a river that knows it will reach the ocean even if it cannot yet see it. For the next 7 days, carry this awareness. When worry appears, do not fight it, observe it and let it pass like a cloud. When you spend, do so with mindfulness, not fear. When you receive even something small, pause and feel gratitude, because gratitude is the key that unlocks unseen doors. Understand this clearly. Transformation does not come because of the words alone. It comes because you become different. Your energy softens, your thoughts become clear, your actions become wiser, and slowly the world responds. Money is not your enemy, nor is it your master. It is simply a reflection of your inner state. So instead of asking, why is money not coming to me? Ask gently, am I open to receiving? Return to this prayer each day, not as a demand, but as a reminder, and watch carefully. Within 7 days, it may not rain gold from the sky, but you will notice something shift, a new opportunity, a lighter heart, a clearer path, or an unexpected opening. And that is how true transformation begins. Wealth begins within. Financial transformation starts from your mindset, beliefs, and inner peace, not just external actions or money itself. Wealth is often misunderstood as something that exists only outside of us: numbers in a bank account, possessions we can touch, or status we can display. But the deeper truth is far more subtle and powerful. Everything that manifests in the outer world has its origin within. Just as a tree begins from a seed hidden beneath the soil, financial abundance begins as a quiet formation in the mind and the heart. If the seed is weak, filled with doubt, fear, or confusion, then no matter how much effort is applied externally, the results remain limited. But when the inner state is clear, calm, and aligned, even small actions begin to produce meaningful outcomes. Consider how often the mind is occupied with worry about money, fear of not having enough, anxiety about the future, or regret over the past. These thoughts may seem natural, but they quietly shape perception and behavior. A mind filled with fear becomes restless, and a restless mind cannot see opportunities clearly. It either hesitates too much or acts impulsively. In both cases, the flow of abundance is disrupted. So the first step is not to force wealth into your life, but to gently observe the patterns within you that may be resisting it. When you begin to understand that your inner world influences your outer reality, a shift occurs. You stop blaming circumstances alone and start taking responsibility for your state of being. This is not about guilt or pressure, it is about awareness. Awareness allows you to notice when you are thinking from a place of lack and to consciously return to a place of trust. Trust does not mean ignoring reality, it means believing that your current situation is not permanent and that change is always possible. As your awareness deepens, you begin to act differently without forcing yourself. Decisions become more thoughtful. You spend with intention rather than impulse. You recognize value more clearly, both in what you give and what you receive. Even your interactions with others begin to shift as you carry a sense of calm rather than tension. People are naturally drawn to those who are grounded and clear, and this often opens doors that were previously unseen. In this way, wealth is not something you chase endlessly. It becomes something that responds to who you are becoming. When your inner state reflects clarity, gratitude, and balance, your external world gradually mirrors that state. The process may not always be immediate, but it is steady and real. Over time, you realize that the true source of abundance was never separate from you. It was always waiting for you to recognize it within yourself, to nurture it, and to allow it to grow naturally into your life. Release fear and lack. Let go of fear, scarcity thinking, and desperation. These negative energies block financial flow and opportunities. Fear and the sense of lack often arise so quietly that they feel like a natural part of life. A person may wake each day with a subtle tension, a lingering thought that there is not enough money, not enough security, not enough certainty about what lies ahead. This feeling, repeated over time, becomes a lens through which everything is seen. Even when opportunities appear, they may be overlooked or doubted because the mind has been trained to expect limitation rather than possibility. To release fear and the belief in lack does not mean denying reality or pretending that challenges do not exist. It means seeing clearly how these inner patterns influence your experience. Fear tightens the mind. It creates urgency, pressure, and a constant sense of chasing something just out of reach. In that state, decisions are rarely wise. One may hold on to money too tightly, afraid to use it even when necessary, or spend it impulsively in moments of emotional discomfort. Both extremes come from the same root, a lack of inner balance. The first step toward release is awareness. When a fearful thought arises, instead of immediately believing it, simply notice it. Observe how it feels in the body, perhaps a heaviness in the chest or a restlessness in the mind. By observing it without judgment, you create a small space between yourself and the thought. In that space, the thought begins to lose its power. You realize that fear is not a permanent truth, it is just a passing state. As you continue this practice, you begin to question the belief that you are lacking. You start to see what is already present in your life: resources, skills, relationships, and even small opportunities that were once ignored. This shift in attention is important. What you focus on grows stronger in your awareness. When you focus only on what is missing, the sense of lack deepens. But when you acknowledge what is already there, a feeling of sufficiency begins to emerge. This feeling of sufficiency is not the same as complacency. It does not mean you stop striving or improving. Instead, it creates a stable foundation from which growth can occur. When you no longer act from desperation, your choices become more thoughtful and aligned with your long-term well-being. You become less reactive and more intentional. Over time, releasing fear also changes your relationship with uncertainty. Instead of seeing the future as something threatening, you begin to view it with a quiet openness. You understand that life is always changing, and within that change, new possibilities are constantly arising. This understanding brings a sense of ease even in situations that once caused stress. As fear loosens its grip, you may notice subtle shifts in your external world. Opportunities feel more accessible, decisions feel clearer, and your interactions with others become more positive. These changes are not coincidences, they are reflections of your inner transformation. By letting go of fear and the belief in lack, you allow space for something new to enter, something that was always there, waiting beyond the noise of doubt. Practice calm, intentional prayer. The prayer works through calm belief and consistency, not desperation. It aligns your thoughts with abundance. A prayer, when spoken with calm awareness, is not a plea born out of desperation, but a gentle alignment of the inner world. Many people approach prayer as if they are trying to convince life to give them something it is withholding. In that state, the words may be repeated, but beneath them lies tension, doubt, and urgency. These hidden feelings shape the experience more than the words themselves. When the mind is restless and filled with need, even the most beautiful phrases lose their depth. But when the mind is still, even the simplest words carry great power. To practice prayer with intention, one must first slow down. There is no need to rush through the words or repeat them mechanically. Sit quietly, allow the breath to become steady, and let the body relax. In this stillness, the prayer begins to take on a different quality. It is no longer something you are saying outwardly, it becomes something you are experiencing inwardly. Each word is felt rather than just spoken. Consistency is more important than intensity. It is not about saying the prayer many times in a single moment, but about returning to it regularly with presence. When you repeat a prayer each day with awareness, it begins to shape your thinking. The mind, which was once scattered and uncertain, gradually becomes focused and clear. Over time, the meaning of the words sinks deeper, influencing not just your thoughts but your emotions and actions as well. Belief also plays a subtle but important role. This belief is not blind faith or false positivity. It is a quiet trust that what you are aligning with is already possible. When you say the prayer, you are not asking for something distant, you are acknowledging something that can exist within your life. This shift from asking to acknowledging changes the entire experience. It removes the feeling of separation between you and what you seek. As this practice continues, you may notice that your reactions to situations begin to change. Challenges that once created anxiety may now be met with patience. Decisions that once felt confusing may become clearer. This is because the prayer is not just influencing your external circumstances, it is refining your inner state. A calm and centered mind is naturally more capable of making wise choices. There is also a sense of ease that develops. Instead of forcing outcomes, you begin to move with a quiet confidence. You do what is necessary, but without the heavy burden of expectation. This balance between action and acceptance creates a flow in life. You are no longer resisting what is happening, nor are you passively waiting. You are participating with awareness. In this way, the prayer becomes more than a set of words. It becomes a daily practice of returning to yourself. It reminds you to pause, to realign, and to approach life with clarity and calm. Over time, this steady practice shapes your reality not through sudden miracles, but through a gradual and meaningful transformation that begins within and extends outward into every aspect of your life. Gratitude unlocks abundance. Being thankful even for small things shifts your energy and attracts more positive financial experiences. Gratitude is often spoken about as a simple habit, yet its depth is rarely understood. It is not merely saying thank you for what is obvious or comfortable. It is a way of seeing life that gently transforms how you experience everything, including your relationship with money and abundance. When gratitude is present, even in small moments, it begins to shift your attention away from what is missing and toward what is already here. This shift may seem subtle, but it carries profound effects over time. Many people live with a constant awareness of what they do not have. They measure their lives against expectations, comparing themselves to others or to an imagined future. In doing so, they overlook the quiet forms of abundance that already surround them, basic needs being met, opportunities that exist, skills they possess, and even the ability to grow and change. Without gratitude, these things feel ordinary or insufficient. But when gratitude is practiced, they are seen clearly and their value becomes real. This change in perception influences the mind in a powerful way. A mind that focuses on lack becomes tense and dissatisfied, always searching and rarely at rest. In contrast, a mind that recognizes what it has begins to relax. This relaxation is not laziness, it is a release of unnecessary resistance. From this state, clarity arises. Decisions are no longer clouded by urgency or fear, and actions become more thoughtful and balanced. Gratitude also deepens your connection with what you receive. When something comes into your life, whether it is money, support from others, or a new opportunity, pausing to feel genuine appreciation creates a sense of completeness in that moment. Instead of immediately moving on to the next desire, you allow yourself to fully experience what has arrived. This simple act changes your relationship with receiving. It removes the feeling that nothing is ever enough and replaces it with a quiet sense of fulfillment. As this practice continues, it begins to influence how you give as well. When you are grateful, giving does not feel like a loss. It feels natural, even joyful, because it comes from a place of sufficiency rather than scarcity. This balanced flow between receiving and giving creates harmony in your life, and this harmony often reflects back in unexpected ways. Over time, gratitude becomes less of a practice and more of a natural state. You begin to notice beauty in ordinary moments, value in small gains, and lessons even in difficulties. Challenges are no longer seen only as obstacles, but also as opportunities to grow and understand more deeply. In this way, gratitude quietly unlocks doors that once seemed closed. It does not force change, nor does it demand results. Instead, it transforms the one who is observing, and through that transformation, the world itself begins to feel different, more open, more supportive, and filled with possibilities that were always there, waiting to be seen. Transformation comes through inner change. Real change happens when your thinking, emotions, and actions become balanced and mindful, then external results follow. True transformation does not arrive suddenly from the outside, it unfolds quietly from within, shaping the way you think, feel, and act. Many people wait for circumstances to change before they allow themselves to feel at ease, believing that once their finances improve, their stress will disappear. But this way of thinking keeps them trapped in a cycle where peace is always dependent on something external. Real change begins when you reverse this pattern, when you cultivate a balanced and mindful inner state first, and allow your external reality to follow. Your thoughts are the starting point of this transformation. If they are filled with doubt, confusion, or negativity, they influence every decision you make. Even when opportunities arise, they may be ignored or misjudged because the mind is conditioned to expect unfavorable outcomes. But when your thinking becomes clearer and more intentional, you begin to see situations as they are, rather than through the filter of fear. This clarity allows you to respond instead of react, to choose wisely rather than impulsively. Emotions also play a crucial role. When emotions are unstable, shifting between anxiety and temporary excitement, they create inconsistency in behavior. One moment you may feel hopeful and take positive steps, and the next you may feel discouraged and withdraw. This inconsistency disrupts progress. However, when your emotional state becomes more balanced, you develop a steady approach to life. You are no longer controlled by every passing feeling. Instead, you act with patience and awareness, even when circumstances are uncertain. Actions naturally follow the state of your mind and emotions. When you are mindful, your actions become more deliberate. You spend with awareness, avoiding unnecessary decisions driven by impulse. You recognize opportunities that align with your growth and avoid those that may lead to regret. Over time, these small, consistent actions create meaningful change. It is not a single grand decision that transforms your life, but the accumulation of many thoughtful choices made with clarity. As this inner alignment strengthens, you may begin to notice subtle shifts in your external world. Situations that once felt overwhelming become manageable. Opportunities seem to appear more frequently, not because they were absent before, but because you are now able to recognize and act upon them. Your interactions with others may also improve, as a calm and grounded presence often invites trust and cooperation. This process requires patience. It is not about forcing immediate results or expecting dramatic changes overnight. Instead, it is about trusting that each moment of awareness, each balanced decision, and each mindful action is contributing to a larger transformation. Gradually, the gap between where you are and where you wish to be begins to close. In the end, you realize that the outer changes you once desired are reflections of the inner work you have done. By bringing harmony to your thoughts, stability to your emotions, and intention to your actions, you can create a sense of balance and well-being in your life. You create a foundation upon which lasting financial and personal growth can naturally arise.